Eli had never seen anything like it before. The spaceship descended through the swirling purple clouds of the alien planet, its engines humming like the deep rumble of distant thunder. Outside the window, jagged crystal towers pierced the sky, glowing softly with colors that shifted from green to gold. The air was thick with a strange, sparkling mist that made the stars look like scattered jewels. Eli pressed his small hands against the glass, his heart pounding with a mix of fear and excitement. "Are you ready, Eli?" asked Captain Lauren, the commander who had guided him through countless missions on Earth. Eli swallowed hard. I think so," he said, trying to sound braver than he felt. He glanced down at the metal, pinned to his chest, its golden surface reflecting the light from the crystal towers. It was a small thing, really, but it carried a story of courage, hope, and the choices that made him who he was. He hoped it would speak for him, even if his voice trembled. The doors of the spaceship opened with a low hiss, and Eli stepped onto the polished floor of the palace. The air smelled faintly of ozone and flowers, a strange combination that made him cough lightly. Towering above him were beings he had only ever seen in books and holo videos, predators with long limbs, shining scales, and eyes that glowed like molten amber. Their claws clicked against the floor as they approached, but none of them smiled. None of them spoke. Eli felt the weight of their gaze and tried to stand taller, even though he felt very small. At the center of the palace was a throne carved from a single enormous crystal. Its surface shimmered like water under sunlight, and seated upon it was Queen Zirthala. Her form was elegant, almost serpentine, with wings that folded gracefully behind her. Her eyes were sharp, observing, as if she could see not just the surface of things, but the very heart of anyone who approached her. Eli had read about her in the mission briefings. She was known across galaxies as a ruler who respected strength, intelligence, and wisdom above all else, but she had little patience for weakness or foolishness. Eli swallowed again. He had not expected fear to feel so sharp in his chest. He had faced storms, fires, and even wild animals on Earth. Yet here, standing before this queen and her court, he felt as though every step he had ever taken had led to this single moment. A soft chime echoed through the hall. The predators moved aside, forming a silent path that led directly to the throne. Eli took a deep breath and began to walk. Each step made a faint clicking sound on the smooth floor. The metal on his chest seemed heavier with every step. He thought of the people back on Earth, the friends who had trusted him during a terrible storm, the lives he had helped save, and the fear he had felt and overcome. Finally, he reached the base of the throne. Queen Zirthala leaned slightly forward, her eyes fixed on the metal. Her voice was calm but firm, carrying an authority that made the room feel smaller and more tense. "Human child," she said, her voice echoing as if it belonged to the planet itself. "Explain this metal. Why does a being so small and fragile carry such honor?" Eli felt his knees tremble, but he did not lower his gaze. He straightened his shoulders, recalling everything he had been taught about courage and honesty. He knew that words could be stronger than weapons, that a story could move even the hardest of hearts. And so, he began to speak. "This metal," he said, his voice steadying with every word, "is not for strength or for fighting. It is for courage, for making choices when it is hard, for helping others even when you are afraid." He paused, glancing at the predators surrounding the throne. Back on Earth, there was a terrible storm. Many people were trapped, scared, and alone. I helped them. I carried them to safety, even when I thought I might fail. I was just a boy, but I could not ignore those who needed help. The court remained silent. Even the predators, whose lives were built on dominance and survival, leaned forward slightly, their glowing eyes fixed on him. Eli felt a spark of hope. Perhaps they understood. even just a little, what he meant. Queen Zirthala tilted her head. And why? Human child? Did you risk yourself for beings so insignificant? Eli's hands clenched into small fists. He had prepared for this question in his mind. But now that it came, he felt the words had to come from the heart, not from training or lessons. Because they mattered, he said simply. Because their lives are important, just like mine. Because courage is not about being the strongest or the fastest, it is about doing what is right, even when it is scary. Even a small being can make a difference. That is what this medal means. A soft hum ran through the palace. It was not thunder, and it was not wind. It was something else, an acknowledgement, a recognition that his words had reached beyond language or species. Eli's chest swelled with a quiet pride. The queen's eyes narrowed, but not in anger. In curiosity. She leaned slightly closer, and the room seemed to hold its breath. "And what do you expect from those who hear this story?" she asked. Eli thought carefully. He did not want to sound boastful or arrogant. He wanted to show that humans were more than their size or their strength. "I hope they understand," he said, "that courage is not about fighting or ruling. It is about choosing to protect, to care, to stand for what is right. I hope they see that even small beings can make a great difference." The predators shifted slightly. One of the largest, a being with scales that shimmered like silver in the light, let out a low, respectful growl. Another bowed its head slightly. Queen Zirthala did not speak for a long moment. She studied him, her many eyes reflecting the light of the crystals, reflecting something more than strength, something she could not name but recognized. Finally, she inclined her head. "You speak not of power, but of wisdom. You carry more than a medal, human child. You carry ideals." Eli felt a warmth spread through him. For the first time since arriving, he felt a sense of belonging not just in the palace, but in the universe itself. The queen's words were not just acknowledgement. They were an invitation to be seen as something greater. Captain Lauren stepped forward, resting a hand lightly on Eli's shoulder. "He has always carried those ideals," the captain said quietly. "Even on Earth, he showed courage without expecting reward." Eli looked up at the predators surrounding the throne. Some of them still seemed wary, but their posture was different now. Less about intimidation, more about attention. They were listening, watching, learning. He realized then that courage could ripple outward, even to those who did not understand it at first. The queen's gaze softened, but her voice remained commanding. "Very well, human child. You will stay for a time and learn. You will speak with my council, with my warriors, and with those who have never understood courage as you do. Perhaps, in your smallness, you will teach them something they have never known." Eli's eyes widened. "Teach them?" he asked. "Yes," the queen said. "Courage, compassion, and the strength of the heart. Your kind may be small, but your spirit is mighty." A low murmur ran through the court. It was the first time Eli had heard such a sound in this alien palace. Even the predators seemed to recognize that something unusual was happening. A human boy, so small, standing before them with nothing but his words and his courage, was making them reconsider what they valued. Eli took a deep breath. He could feel the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders, heavier than the metal on his chest. But he also felt a spark of hope, a quiet fire that told him he could rise to the challenge. He had faced storms and fears on Earth, and now he would face the unknown of this galaxy. As he bowed slightly to the queen, he felt a strange pride, not for the medal, not for the recognition, but for the idea that one small human could stand tall among giants and be heard for his heart and his courage. And so, in the glittering palace on a distant planet, with predators and rulers watching him. Eli took his first step into a universe that was far larger than Earth and far more in need of the courage of humanity. Eli stood before the alien queen and her vast court, his small hands clasped tightly in front of him. The crystal palace was quiet now, the soft hum of the light-filled walls filling the space. Predators and aliens of all shapes and sizes watched him silently, their eyes glowing like distant stars. It was a moment of truth, and Eli knew that what he said next could decide not only how he was seen, but how humans might be understood in this distant part of the galaxy. He took a deep breath and began. "This medal," Eli said, tapping it lightly, "was given to me for courage. But it is not just my courage. It is the courage of all the people who helped each other, even when it was difficult." Queen Zirthala leaned slightly forward, her many eyes fixed on him. "Explain, human child. What makes your kind courageous? You are so small, so fragile compared to us." Eli's chest rose with a steadying breath. "It is not size or strength that makes someone brave. It is the choice to do what is right, even when you are afraid." On Earth, there was a storm. It was terrible wind so strong it tore trees from the ground. Rain that flooded streets. People were trapped, scared, and alone. He paused, letting the words settle over the court. Even the predators, usually quick to dismiss smaller beings, were listening closely. Eli felt their eyes on him, curious and alert. He continued, "My friends and I were caught in the storm. Some of them could not swim. Some could not see in the dark, and others were injured. I was just a boy, but I could not ignore them. I helped carry people to safety. I held the frightened. I guided the lost. I stayed calm even when I was scared inside." A ripple ran through the assembly. The predators exchanged glances, their glowing eyes softening as they listened. One of the taller aliens, with skin like polished bronze, tilted its head as if trying to understand. Another predator, with scales that shimmered like silver, let out a low, thoughtful hum. Eli continued, his voice growing steadier with each word. "I did not do it for reward or for praise. I did it because it was the right thing to do, and because when we help others, we are stronger together than we are alone. That is why I have this medal, not because I am special, but because I chose to act when it mattered." Queen Zirthala's head tilted, studying him with the intensity of a hunter and the curiosity of a scholar. "And what did you feel, human child, when you were afraid? When your life could have been in danger?" Eli thought about that moment, about the wind and the water, about the fear that had squeezed his heart. But he also remembered the faces of his friends, their trust in him, their hope that he would not give up. "I was afraid," he said honestly. "I was very afraid. But I also knew that I could not leave them. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is acting even when you feel fear. Every time I helped someone, I felt stronger not because I was bigger, but because I was doing what was right. And in the end, we all made it through together." A hush fell over the palace. The predators, the alien diplomats, and the courtiers all seemed to pause, as if absorbing something unfamiliar and profound. In their world, courage was often measured by conquest, by hunting, by showing dominance. Eli's words spoke of something else entirely, something that had no claws or teeth, no sharp scales or wings, something purely human. The power of the heart. Queen Zirthala's voice broke the silence. "So, your courage comes from your choice to protect and to care, not from fighting or defeating others." Eli nodded. "Yes, Your Majesty. Courage is about choosing to do good even when it is hard. It is about helping others because their lives matter. And anyone, no matter how small, can have courage. Anyone can make a difference." The predators shifted. One, taller than all the others, lowered its massive head slightly. It was the first gesture of respect Eli had seen from them. The queen watched carefully, her gaze moving from Eli to the court, as if evaluating the impact of his words. Eli pressed on. I learned something important that day. I learned that being brave does not mean you are never scared. It means you act when others need you, even if you are afraid. And I think humans are not the only ones who can have courage. I think anyone, no matter who they are, can make the choice to do what is right. That is why I stand here before you today, and why I wear this medal. For a moment, the crystal walls seemed to shimmer brighter, as if the building itself recognized the truth in his words. The predators leaned forward, their glowing eyes reflecting the golden light of Eli's medal. A murmur ran through the court, not fear, not anger, but interest, curiosity, and perhaps even admiration. Queen Zirthala's expression softened slightly. She gestured with one long, elegant hand, inviting Eli to continue. Tell us, human child, about the people you saved. What were they like? How did they trust you? Eli swallowed and smiled faintly. They were ordinary people, like anyone you might meet. Some were scared and angry, some were weak and tired. But when we worked together, we became stronger. They trusted me because I promised to help, and I kept that promise. They trusted me because I believed in them too. Courage is contagious. When one person chooses to act bravely, it can inspire others to do the same. The predators murmured again, this time louder. Eli realized that they were not speaking words, but communicating in some way he could not understand. Yet the meaning was clear. They were considering his words seriously. Queen Zirthala's eyes narrowed slightly, but there was no anger in them. Instead, there was curiosity, a sharp intelligence that weighed every word he spoke. And yet, you are small, human child. How can your kind hope to survive among the stars, where strength rules? Eli thought carefully. Strength is important, he admitted, but it is not everything. Intelligence, courage, and caring for others are just as strong. On Earth, my friends and I could not survive by strength alone. We had to think, to plan, to help each other. Strength without wisdom or kindness can destroy. But courage and compassion can inspire others, even those stronger than you, to do good. The court grew quiet again. Even the predators, whose lives had long been ruled by force and instinct, seemed to pause. Eli's words were simple, yet they carried a weight they had not expected. A low hum echoed from the walls, and the queen spoke softly, almost to herself. Perhaps there is more to these humans than I understood. Then, addressing Eli, she said, Your actions were brave. Your words are even braver. You speak not of your own glory, but of the glory of all who choose right over ease. That is something rare, even among the greatest of our kind. Eli's chest swelled. He had never heard such praise before, not for himself, but for the values he had always tried to live by. It was not power that mattered. It was integrity, courage, and compassion. One of the predators, a massive being with golden scales, stepped forward. Its eyes glowed softly, and it lowered its head in a gesture of respect. Another predator followed. Slowly, one by one, they acknowledged him not as a weak human, but as someone whose courage and heart deserved recognition. Queen Zirthala's voice rang through the hall. You have shown us that even the smallest being can carry the strength of the universe within. Perhaps it is not size, nor sharp claws, nor powerful wings that command respect. Perhaps it is the choice to do what is right, to protect and inspire others, that is the greatest strength of all. Eli felt a warmth in his chest, a quiet pride that was not about the medal, but about what the medal represented. He realized that courage could travel across worlds, that the values of humanity could resonate even with those who had never seen a human before. The Queen's eyes softened further, and she gestured for the predators to stand back. "Human child, you may stay. Learn our ways, share your stories, and let us see if your courage can change even the hardest hearts among us." Eli bowed, a mixture of relief and honor flooding through him. "Thank you, Your Majesty," he said. He knew that his journey had only just begun. The medal on his chest was more than a symbol of bravery. It was a key to understanding, respect, and a future where humans and aliens could stand together, not through fear, but through courage and heart. As he stepped back, the court slowly began to stir. Eli looked at the predators, no longer as terrifying beings, but as listeners, learners, and perhaps even friends. He understood that courage had a language beyond words, beyond species, and that even in the darkest places, light could shine through a simple act of bravery. And so, Eli's story of the medal continued not as a tale of a boy alone, but as the beginning of a bridge between worlds, built on courage, compassion, and the extraordinary power of a human heart. Eli had been in the Crystal Palace for several days now. The court had grown quiet around him, but the Queen still observed him closely. He had walked among predators, scholars, and diplomats of all sizes and forms. Each interaction tested his courage in ways far different from the storms and fires of Earth. Here, courage was measured by wisdom, honesty, and the strength of one's character, not just the actions taken in the face of danger. Queen Zerthala had called him to the center of the hall once again. Her many eyes gleamed with an intensity that made Eli's heart race. She sat tall upon her crystal throne, wings folded gracefully behind her, her presence commanding attention without a single harsh word. "You have told us of your bravery," the Queen said, her voice echoing like a deep melody through the grand hall. "But I seek to understand your humanity more fully. Tell me, human child, why do you risk your life for others when your own safety is at stake? What drives your kind to such choices?" Eli paused, his small hands clasped tightly in front of him. This was no longer a question of storytelling or medals. This was about the essence of what made humans human. He thought of Earth, of his friends, of the countless acts of kindness he had witnessed and participated in. "Because it is the right thing to do," Eli said simply. "Because others' lives are as important as mine. Because courage is not about being the strongest, but about choosing to act when it matters. Every person has a chance to make the world better. That is what humans try to do." The Queen tilted her head, considering his words. "And when you are afraid? When your life is threatened? Why not save yourself first?" Eli thought carefully. He remembered the flood, the panic, the desperate faces of people relying on him. He felt the fear then, as he did now, but also the certainty that he could not abandon those in need. "Because bravery is not the absence of fear," he said. "It is acting even when you are afraid. When I see someone in danger, I feel fear, but I also feel that I must help. I could have run away, but that would not have been right. My courage comes from choosing to do what is right, not from ignoring my fear." The predators shifted. Some lowered their massive heads slightly. One of the alien scholars, with translucent skin that shimmered like liquid crystal, tilted its head, as if to understand a concept never before seen. The Queen watched their reactions carefully, her gaze sharp and thoughtful. "And what of anger?" the Queen asked. "Humans are known to fight, to argue, to compete. How do you balance your desire for revenge or victory with the choice to protect and care?" Eli's eyes widened slightly. He had considered this before, especially when younger kids had teased him or when he had seen injustices on Earth. He had learned that anger could motivate action, but it could also cloud judgment and harm others. "I try to think before I act," Eli said. Anger can make you do things you will regret. Courage is stronger when it is guided by thought and compassion. Humans are not perfect. We make mistakes, but we try to do better. That is why courage is important. It helps us act with both strength and wisdom. The Queen nodded slowly. You speak of choice and thought, and yet, your kind is young among the stars. How do you survive when the universe is vast and threats are many? Eli smiled faintly, thinking of his friends, his family, and the lessons Earth had taught him. We survive by working together. Humans understand that no one can face the universe alone. Each person has something to offer. Each person can inspire another. Strength is important, but so is trust, care, and hope. That is how we endure. A predator in the back of the hall, one taller than the rest, made a low hum of agreement. Another, smaller and sleek, bowed its head slightly. Eli realized that they were not just listening. They were learning, adjusting their understanding of what it meant to be brave and strong. The Queen leaned forward slightly. You speak well, human child. But words alone are not enough. Tell us, what is the greatest courage you have seen among humans? Not your own, but others. Eli thought of his neighborhood during the storm, of people who risked their own safety to help strangers. He thought of a young girl who had carried a frightened puppy through the flood, of an elderly man who had guided neighbors to higher ground despite his frailty. The greatest courage I have seen, he said, is when ordinary people choose to do extraordinary things for others, not for fame, not for reward, but because it is right. Humans can be small and weak, but we have hearts that can inspire and protect. That is the kind of courage that changes the world. Queen Zerthala's gaze softened. Even the predators around the hall seemed to pause, their attention fixed entirely on Eli. It was rare for them to witness something that required neither fear nor force to command respect. Eli's words carried a quiet authority, a strength not of body, but of character. You speak of ideals, the Queen said. And yet, ideals do not always survive in a universe where strength often decides fate. How can your kind hope to endure? Eli's eyes sparkled with conviction. Because ideals give us something worth protecting. Strength may win battles, but courage and compassion inspire loyalty, trust, and hope. Even the strongest being can learn from someone smaller, if that someone shows the heart to stand for what is right. That is why humans endure, because our choices can inspire, guide, and change those around us, no matter how big or small they are. A murmur ran through the court. The predators tilted their heads, their glowing eyes reflecting a mix of curiosity and admiration. Eli felt a surge of pride, not for himself, but for what humans represented. In that moment, he realized that courage was contagious, that values could cross worlds, and that even in a court of fierce beings, the heart could speak louder than claws or teeth. Queen Zerthala's wings flexed slightly, a sign of contemplation. You are wise for one so young, she said. But tell me, human child, how do you inspire others? How do you help them see the courage in themselves? Eli thought of the storm again, of the people who had been afraid, frozen by fear. He had reached out, helped them take one step at a time, guided them with words, encouragement, and his own calm presence. I inspire by example, he said. By showing that fear is normal, but acting anyway is what matters. By helping others believe they can be brave, even when the world is frightening. Courage is stronger when it spreads. One person acting bravely can encourage many to do the same. The predators were silent for a long moment, absorbing the meaning of his words. Eli could see the shift in their posture. Their attention now carried respect, a quiet acknowledgement that human courage was something they could not ignore. Queen Zerthala's gaze softened further. It seems your courage is not just your own. It belongs to those you protect, and it inspires even those who watch. That is a rare strength, human child. Perhaps it is not strength of body, nor power of weapon, that matters most, but the strength of choice, the courage to act with wisdom and heart. Eli's chest swelled with pride. He had come here small and uncertain, but now he realized that courage and integrity could cross worlds, could reach even those who seemed impossible to reach. The Queen's words, spoken with approval, were not only recognition, they were a bridge between humanity and the alien court. One of the predators, the largest of them all, stepped forward. Its glowing eyes regarded Eli, and it lowered its massive head in a bow of respect. Another predator followed, smaller, sleek, and nimble, offering a subtle gesture of acknowledgement. For the first time, Eli felt that he was not just a small human in a vast, intimidating world, but a being whose courage could be understood and honored by those far beyond Earth. The Queen spoke again, her tone deliberate and powerful. You have answered my questions well, but there is still more to learn. You have shown that humans are capable of courage, compassion, and inspiration. Yet the universe is vast, and the choices you face are many. Will you continue to act with heart and wisdom when fear is greater than hope? Eli looked up, his small hands steady, his eyes bright. Yes, Your Majesty, I will. Courage is not something that ends when the first challenge is faced. It grows when choices are made again and again. I will continue to act with heart and wisdom, even when it is difficult. A quiet hum filled the hall. The predators and aliens around him were no longer just observers. They were witnesses to something rare, something extraordinary. A human child had spoken not of conquest, not of power, but of values, courage, and the quiet strength of the heart. Queen Zirthala nodded, slowly and deliberately. Very well, human child. You have shown that even a small being can command respect through courage, wisdom, and compassion. Perhaps the galaxy is ready to learn from your kind, even as your kind learns from it. Eli bowed, feeling a warmth of pride and humility. He had not come here seeking praise, but he realized that his words had reached far beyond the walls of the Crystal Palace. He had shown that humanity's strength was not in muscle or size, but in the choices to act rightly, even in the face of fear. And as the court slowly began to stir, Eli knew that he had taken another step, not just in the palace, but in the galaxy itself. His journey was far from over, but the seeds of understanding had been planted. Courage, compassion, and the strength of the human heart could shine even in the darkest corners of the universe. Eli had spent nearly a week in the Crystal Palace, walking among beings whose shapes and forms were far beyond anything he had seen on Earth. Every day had been a lesson not in fighting, not in surviving storms, but in understanding, learning, and speaking courage and compassion in a way that transcended language. And every day, the predators and aliens had watched him, their glowing eyes reflecting a mixture of curiosity, disbelief, and growing respect. Today was different. The Queen had summoned him to the Grand Hall once more. This time, the room was alive with anticipation. The predators, scholars, and diplomats lined the walls, their attention fixed on the small human boy who had, in so few days, begun to unravel their understanding of courage. Even the crystal walls seemed to hum with energy, reflecting the light in soft golds and blues that danced across the polished floor. Queen Zirthala's many eyes regarded Eli carefully. Her wings were folded, but they flexed slightly, a subtle sign that she was intrigued. "Human child," she said, her voice smooth and commanding. "You have spoken of courage and compassion, of choice and action. But words alone do not always inspire. Show us now. Teach us why your kind deserves respect in a universe where strength rules." Eli swallowed. He understood what she meant. The predators had begun to respond to his words, But now it was time to show them through action, through demonstration, that human courage was real, practical, and powerful not in muscle or weaponry, but in heart and mind. He took a step forward. "I will try, Your Majesty," he said. "But you must understand. Humans are not the strongest. We are not the fastest. We are not the most dangerous. What makes us different is that we choose to act rightly, even when it is hard, even when we are afraid." A ripple ran through the court. The predators leaned forward, intrigued by his confidence. One of the largest predators, its scales gleaming bronze, let out a soft, curious hum, tilting its massive head. Eli realized that this was their way of listening carefully, of showing that they were ready to observe and learn. "I would like to show you," Eli continued, "that courage can inspire cooperation, even among those who might seem natural enemies. That strength is not only in claws or wings, but in working together, protecting, and understanding each other." The queen inclined her head. "Proceed, human child. Show us what your courage can do." Eli thought quickly. He remembered the training simulations he had done on Earth, the games where humans learned to solve problems through teamwork. He also remembered the predator's natural instincts: competition, dominance, and strength. If he could find a way to bring them together, even for a moment, he could show that human courage was not only about bravery, but about connection. "Your Majesty," he said, "I ask for a challenge, not a battle, but a test of cooperation. Something that requires strength and skill, but also trust and guidance. I will participate. I will help guide, not dominate. Let us see if even the strongest can follow when we act with purpose." The queen's many eyes flicked among the court. There were murmurs, subtle movements, and a faint hum of approval. Finally, she nodded. "Very well. Show us, human child. Show us what your kind can teach the strongest beings of this empire." A section of the palace floor shifted, revealing a large, complex obstacle course. The design was intricate crystal walls that shifted, narrow bridges, moving platforms, and energy fields that simulated environmental hazards. It was a test of agility, strength, intelligence, and teamwork. The predators glanced at each other, excitement and uncertainty in their glowing eyes. Eli stepped forward, examining the course carefully. He could see where each predator would excel their natural strength and speed. But he also noticed gaps where cooperation would be needed, where planning and trust would matter more than sheer power. "Follow my lead," he said simply, his voice calm but firm. "We will move together, helping each other. Each of us has a strength, and we will use them not to compete, but to succeed as a team." The predators hesitated, their instincts urging dominance. Yet something in Eli's calm confidence, his insistence on cooperation, resonated with them. Slowly, one of the smaller predators stepped forward. Then another. Soon, they were lined up behind him, their massive forms casting long, glittering shadows in the crystal hall. Eli took the first step, demonstrating how to navigate a moving platform while keeping balance. He guided one of the taller predators, whose long legs made the narrow bridges tricky, showing patience and giving clear instructions. He encouraged another predator to use its strength to hold a bridge in place while others crossed safely. The court watched silently, some predators even leaning forward, their glowing eyes reflecting the unfolding lesson. The queen observed closely, her head tilted, her wings flexing in subtle approval. She could see what Eli had done not by fighting, not by demonstrating raw power, but by teaching coordination, courage, and trust. As they progressed, Eli continued to speak calmly. "Good, that's it. Step carefully. Use your strength to help others. Trust each other. Courage is not only acting alone, it is knowing when to lead and when to support." The predators responded surprisingly well. The largest predator, whose claws could have torn through any obstacle, gently held a sliding crystal wall in place, allowing a smaller, less coordinated predator to cross safely. Another predator, with a long, flexible tail, caught a falling platform, steadying it for the group. Eli's guidance was simple, but it emphasized a principle that these beings rarely needed: cooperation as a form of strength. By the end of the course, the predators were no longer competitors, they were a team. They had moved as one, guided by a small human boy whose courage and clarity had inspired them to act differently than they ever had before. The court erupted in quiet acknowledgement, a soft hum of appreciation spreading through the hall. Queen Zerthala's eyes glowed softly as she addressed Eli. "Human child, you have shown us a courage beyond physical strength. You have taught even the strongest to see value in trust, patience, and guidance. You have earned respect not through domination, but through wisdom, leadership, and heart." Eli's chest swelled. The metal on his chest felt lighter now, not because the weight had changed, but because its meaning had deepened. It was no longer only a symbol of his actions on Earth. It was proof that humanity's courage could bridge worlds, change perspectives, and inspire even the fiercest beings. One by one, the predators bowed their heads slightly. Even the tallest, most fearsome of them lowered themselves in a gesture of acknowledgement. Eli had never imagined that such respect could come so easily, yet it had. Not through force, not through fear, but through understanding, courage, and the strength of a heart committed to doing right. The Queen's gaze softened further. "You have taught us something precious, human child. You have reminded us that strength is not always visible in muscle or wing, but in the ability to inspire, guide, and act with integrity. Perhaps it is your kind that will teach the galaxy what true courage means." Eli bowed slightly, feeling both pride and humility. He had come here as a small boy, uncertain and afraid. Now he stood before the court not only as a human, but as a teacher, a guide, and a bridge between worlds. He understood that courage could ripple outward, reaching even those whose lives had long been ruled by instinct and strength alone. As the predators returned to their places, the Queen leaned forward and spoke again. "Human child, your courage is extraordinary, but it is your heart that has truly earned respect. Today, you have shown that even the smallest beings can influence the greatest. Perhaps it is time we learn from you as much as you learn from us." Eli nodded. "I will do my best, Your Majesty," he said. "Not just for myself, but for everyone who can benefit from courage and understanding. Humans are not perfect, but we try. And that effort, that choice, can make a difference in any world." The Queen smiled. A rare, subtle expression that sent a thrill of warmth through Eli. She gestured to the court. "Let it be known, today, the human child has earned the respect of this court and its strongest warriors. Not by power, but by courage, wisdom, and heart." A hum of agreement rippled through the hall. Even the predators, who had long lived by instinct and dominance, seemed to bow not only in respect but in recognition of something larger, an understanding that courage, integrity, and heart could shape even the mightiest of beings. Eli's heart swelled. He had come here unsure, nervous, and afraid. Now, standing in the grand hall, surrounded by the alien court, he realized that humans could inspire, lead, and earn respect across the stars. Not by size or strength, but by courage, compassion, and the choices of the heart. And for the first time, Eli felt that the universe was a place where small beings could make a big difference, where ideals could ripple through the strongest of creatures, and where even a young boy from Earth could teach courage to a galaxy. The Crystal Palace was alive with quiet energy. Eli had spent days walking among beings whose forms and abilities were beyond anything he had imagined. Predators, diplomats, and scholars had watched him closely, learning to understand not just his words, but the courage and heart that guided them. He had demonstrated bravery, shared stories of humanity, and shown that small beings could inspire even the strongest. Today, it seemed, was a day that could change everything. Queen Zerthala's throne glimmered in the soft light, her many eyes fixed on Eli. Her wings were folded neatly, but there was a tension in her posture, an awareness that something extraordinary was unfolding. The predators and diplomats in the court were attentive, their glowing eyes following every move. "You have taught us much, human child," the queen said. "You have shown courage, wisdom, and compassion. You have proven that even the smallest beings can shape the hearts of those greater than themselves. And yet, there is one final question I must ask. How do you see humanity's place in the stars?" Eli took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment. He thought of Earth, his friends, the storms, the small acts of courage that had led him here. He realized that he was no longer just speaking for himself. He was speaking for all of humanity. "Your Majesty," he began. "Humans are small and fragile, but we have something stronger than size or claws. We have hearts that can care, minds that can think, and courage that can act, even when it is difficult. We make mistakes, and we fail, but we always try to do better. I believe humanity's place in the stars is not to dominate, but to inspire. To show that courage, compassion, and understanding are as strong as any weapon or wing. And to work with others, no matter how different they are, to make the universe a better place." The court was silent. Even the predators, who had long relied on instinct and dominance, seemed to absorb the meaning of his words. Eli's voice, steady and sincere, carried a power far beyond his size. It was the power of ideals, of heart, of a courage that demanded attention not by force, but by example. Queen Zerthala studied him carefully. "And if your ideals are challenged? If others in the galaxy do not understand or accept your ways? How will your kind endure?" Eli smiled faintly. "We endure by staying true to what is right, by helping others, by learning, and by showing that courage is stronger than fear. Even when faced with misunderstanding, humans try to lead by example. That is how we survive and how we grow. We do not give up. And we do not forget that even the smallest voice can be heard if it speaks with heart." A soft murmur ran through the court. Predators exchanged glances. They had never encountered such conviction in a small, fragile being. One of the largest predators, whose scales shone like polished bronze, bowed slightly, acknowledging not just Eli, but the truth in his words. Another predator lowered its head, a subtle gesture of respect that sent warmth through Eli's chest. The queen's wings flexed slightly. "It seems, human child, that your courage has not only earned respect, but has reshaped understanding. The predators, the scholars, even my diplomats, your presence and your words have shown them that true strength is not only in power, but in heart and choice." Eli's hands trembled slightly, not from fear, but from the enormity of what she had said. I did not come here to change anyone," he admitted softly. "I just wanted to tell the truth. To show that courage can exist in all beings, even small ones like me." The queen's many eyes glimmered with approval. "And, in doing so, you have done more than you realize. You have shown that even a human child can be a teacher to the galaxy. Your actions, your words, and your courage have united beings who would otherwise have remained divided. That is a rare and valuable gift." The predators shifted. One, taller than the rest, stepped forward and lowered its head. Another followed. Slowly, one by one, the predators in the court acknowledged Eli's courage, bowing in a gesture of respect. Eli had expected recognition for his actions, perhaps a polite nod or words of approval. He had not expected such a display of respect from beings so powerful and fearsome. "Human child," Queen Zerthala said, her voice softer now. "You have proven that your kind can lead not by force, but by heart. You have shown that even the smallest beings can inspire and unite those far greater than themselves. I offer you a role among us, a bridge between your kind and the creatures of this galaxy. You will carry the ideals of courage, wisdom, and compassion beyond your world. Eli's eyes widened. A role? With the Empire? He asked, astonished. He thought of Earth, of his family, of the friends who had helped him become who he was. He had never imagined he could have such a responsibility. Yes, the Queen said, her voice firm but kind. You will act as an ambassador, a messenger of humanity's heart. You will show that courage and compassion are not weaknesses, but strengths that can reshape understanding, build trust, and unite beings across the stars. Eli's chest swelled with pride. This was not about a medal, or recognition, or fame. This was about the opportunity to show that humanity could inspire, lead, and guide with heart and courage. He realized that the journey he had begun as a boy with a medal was now a path that could touch the entire galaxy. I will do my best, Your Majesty, Eli said. I will try to show the galaxy what humanity can offer, not by force, but by heart, courage, and understanding. The Queen inclined her head. I know you will, human child. Your courage has already changed many here. Now, you will take that change beyond this palace, beyond this planet, and into the universe. Let all who see you understand that bravery is not measured by size or strength, but by choice and heart. The predators stepped aside, creating a path for Eli to approach the throne. He moved forward carefully, feeling the weight of his responsibility. When he reached the center, the Queen extended a delicate hand, and he placed his small palm upon hers. There was a moment of connection, a silent acknowledgement of trust, respect, and the potential for unity across worlds. Go, the Queen said. Carry your courage forward. Teach others. Inspire them. And let the heart of humanity shine across the stars. The galaxy is ready to learn from you. Eli bowed deeply. Thank you, Your Majesty, he said. I will not forget the lessons I have learned here. The court erupted in quiet acknowledgement. Predators and diplomats alike murmured their approval, some even bowing as a sign of recognition and respect. Eli felt a thrill of warmth in his chest. He had come to this palace as a boy, small and uncertain. He would leave as a bridge between worlds, a living example of what humans could achieve when guided by courage, compassion, and heart. Over the next few hours, Eli spoke with members of the court individually. He shared stories of Earth, of human courage and cooperation, of the choices people made every day to help one another. The predators, who had once relied solely on strength, now asked questions, curious to understand more. Some even sought advice on how to lead with compassion in their own lives. Eli realized that he had created something rare, a connection across species, across worlds, that went beyond fear, dominance, or competition. He had shown that humans could inspire, teach, and unite through courage and understanding alone. Finally, as the day drew to a close, Queen Zirthala summoned him once more. Human child, you have done more than I expected. You have earned a place of honor and a responsibility that few could imagine. You are young, but your heart is wise. Go forth, and let the galaxy know the courage of humanity. Eli bowed, feeling a mixture of pride, humility, and determination. He had carried a medal on his chest, a small token of bravery from Earth. But now, he realized that the true medal was not in gold or ribbon. It was the courage, the heart, and the choices that humans carried within themselves, the power to inspire even the strongest, the fiercest, and the most intimidating beings in the universe. As he stepped back toward the palace doors, the predators lined the hall once more. One by one, they bowed in respect. Some spoke words in their own language, Words Eli did not understand, but the meaning was clear. They acknowledged him. They respected him. They believed in the courage of humanity. Captain Loren stood by the doors, a proud smile on his face. "You did it, Eli," he said softly. "Not just for yourself, but for everyone back home." Eli nodded, feeling the weight and the promise of his new role. "I think we can show the universe something special," he said. "Not just strength, but heart." The Queen's voice echoed one final time. "Go, human child. Carry your courage forward. Let all who encounter you see that even the smallest of beings can leave the greatest mark upon the stars." Eli turned toward the stars beyond the palace, feeling the enormity of the galaxy spread out before him. He thought of Earth, of the people he loved, and of the countless acts of courage waiting to happen. He realized that this was only the beginning, and so, with a steady heart and a mind full of hope, Eli took his first steps as a human ambassador to the galaxy. The medal on his chest gleamed in the light, not just as a symbol of past bravery, but as a reminder of the courage, compassion, and heart that could inspire worlds. And even the predators, the fiercest creatures he had met, bowed in respect not to fear, not to strength, but to the extraordinary power of a human being who chose to act with heart. Eli smiled faintly. Humanity had a place among the stars, and it was a place built on courage, wisdom, and hope.